Marvel Rivals just added 2 new characters to the game, and one of them has a skin that is making a lot of people kind of confused. So I want to explain it. And I want to explain why I think this is so interesting. The character in question is Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, one of the 4 members of the Fantastic Four, the first mother of the Marvel Comics universe. Like, they are the first family, and she is the mother, even though none of them are her kids. She has kids that will show up in, they're probably not going to be in the game. Johnny is her brother. She's married to Reed, and then Ben is Reed's best friend, who is now her best friend. They're all really, really close. It's great. And that's what's so fun about the Fantastic Four. Like, they are a family, where the X-Men are kind of like a weird, I don't know, like a Love Island house kind of thing. The Fantastic Four are a family that just does adventures together. So the explanation for this costume is called Malice, and it's kind of surprising that it was added for Sue as her alternate costume. It's not that surprising when you consider that this is something that they are going to sell and people will buy, but it's a little surprising because, like, a lot of the other alternate costumes are just like another look you're familiar with. This character has, like, Hulk. Oh, it's Hulk, but he's in Planet Hulk, so he's got his gladiator outfit on. That's a pretty simple one. But with Sue, it's like she's the mom in the Fantastic Four suit, or dominatrix, and without a lot of explanations, it's just a little confusing. I will say the problem here with the Fantastic Four, we'll run into with them specifically, they just don't have a lot of costumes. Like, a lot of the Fantastic Four costumes are the basic, I don't know what you call it, like speed suit, super suit, whatever it is. There's some combination of a blue and a white and a 4. And sometimes they have a collar, and sometimes they're darker blue and there's not as much white. And sometimes it's just white and black, like the Future Foundation costume, but more or less, they all get the same version of that costume around the same time and then wear it for a while. Like, for Reed, his alternate costume is the Maker, an evil version of Reed Richards from the 1610 universe. But, like, Sue doesn't really have that. And she doesn't have that many other teams she's been on, and even when she does, she doesn't really get, like, a new costume that often. So if you had to think about, like, alternate costumes for Sue that aren't just another Fantastic Four costume, Malice is up there, especially as, it's memorable. I guess I just want to justify this so that people that see this costume, because you couldn't do this with Overwatch, right? You couldn't do this with Mercy. Just like out of nowhere, Mercy gets an S&M skin and everybody would be cool with it. Some people would be very cool with it. The other people would be, like I would be, a little bit confused. But with Marvel Comics, casual fans, I feel like will go like, I guess she was a dominatrix for a while, but I didn't know about it. And it's not that important a part of her story. Like, it comes around a very important part of Sue's life, and it's shown up a couple of times since then. But the idea of Malice as an entity is not the same as, say, Phoenix for Jean Grey, who I think you could compare this to, where it is an avatar that she frequently has to go back to, or, the Phoenix Force is back, Jean's gonna get the Phoenix Force. The other character this reminds me a lot of is, like, Madeline Pryor, who is her own person. Like, that's not what Malice is. She's kind of an alternate personality in Sue's head, kind of. But, like, with Madeline Pryor, it's like, Madeline Pryor shows up every, decade or so and causes some problems and then disappears. So here's the story about this character. This is all that I know from reading the issues that she is in, and reading about this outfit and, like, this persona online. First of all, there's a bunch of different characters and, like, entities in Marvel Comics called Malice. Some of them are, like, completely different people, and the only thing we're worried about here is Sue Storm, and I think it's issue 280 and 281 of the Fantastic Four comic. So this is sometime after Secret Wars, the first one. Like, it's an interesting book for the Fantastic Four because they all went and did an adventure except Sue. Sue did not go. So she, just is like, where did everybody go? They all come back, except Ben doesn't come back because Ben was able to not be like a big rock man, so he was really into that. He was like, I want to not be a big rock man for a little while, please. I'll be back, but for now, you guys just hang out without me. That's why the Fantastic Four recruited, very famously, She-Hulk back there. She was on the Fantastic Four to take the spot that was open because Ben was on Battle World or wherever it was after Secret Wars was done. But I always think it's interesting that right after She-Hulk joins the team, one of the next things that happens for the Fantastic Four is Sue Storm has a miscarriage, and it is a big deal. And I only think it's funny just because, like, as a She-Hulk fan, I was like, I want to read all the books She-Hulk is in. You know what? She's in the Fantastic Four for a while, so let's see what she does here. And then in the second book, she's, like, in the hospital room just going, like, I don't think I should be here. This doesn't really feel like this feels like a really personal thing, and I know I've got in the Fantastic Four, but like we're, I'm not at that level yet. But that's something that happens to Sue Storm. And it affects her, obviously, very sad. And I'm only bringing this up because it's not like the trigger for the identity of Malice. Like, it doesn't come from this moment, but it does feel like that is kind of connected as something that's going to happen to Sue. Because Sue, much like Jean Grey when she gets Phoenixy sometimes, is a character that has to keep it together. She has to be the glue that holds the Fantastic Four together. Johnny's the hothead, Thing just loves to fight, and Mr. Fantastic is, constantly in other dimensions inventing machines, and he's got like the biggest brain ever. So a lot of the time this family doesn't really work unless Sue brings them together. So Sue at this time is not feeling like she's not appreciated, but she's feeling like, I don't get to be a mess. Like, you guys all get to be messes, and I have to hold it together and be cool. And she doesn't like resent the other members of the Fantastic Four for this, but you can tell there's just an imbalance in this character. She needs to let go somehow. And a character named Psycho Man, who is a guy in one of the Fantastic Four villains. If you're going to take one thing from Psycho Man, it's this. In this book, and I think this comes up in other books, but he has a remote that says hate, fear, and doubt, and he can like point them at you, and then you get extra scared, or you become extra hateful. And he is working with a character called the Hate Monger to spread hate. And some of this hate is like Nazi propaganda. It's all spreading around New York City at the time. Sue falls under the spell of the Hate Monger and the spell of the Psycho Man and becomes like Malice, this hate-themed version of Sue Storm. So she is just pure hate, and she just wants to beat up the Fantastic Four because she hates them so much. One thing that's interesting about the Fantastic Four when they see Malice for the first time, first person that sees her is She-Hulk, and She-Hulk's like, what the heck is this? But what I didn't originally know about this, she doesn't realize that this is Sue. She's just like, oh my god, another guy. Like, I thought we were done with supervillains today, but here's a new one, and it's a dominatrix or something. And Sue is really strong. This is something that comes up every so often, right? Usually Sue is making discs, levitating people around, making big bubbles and whatever, making you invisible. But like, if she wants, Sue can really mess you up. Sue can make a force field in the middle of your brain and just explode it from the inside out. Or she can use a force field to like push you, and that's what she does to She-Hulk, and basically just tosses her up in the air. So she's very strong. She starts messing around with the rest of the members of the Fantastic Four, and eventually she reveals that this is Sue Storm. And by the way, this is an era where everybody had the worst haircut. But what it turns out is Malice is just Sue with like hate turned up to 11, and then pointed at the Fantastic Four, and she's just going and like messing them all up. And this is part of Hate Monger and Psycho Man's plan. She's eventually defeated because Reed makes her actually hate him, and that kind of breaks the cycle in her head, and then she's cool. That's 2 issues, 280, 281. Those are the only ones that have Malice in them for that like story. And it really is just a costume she put on where she was kind of overwhelmed by hate from the Hate Monger, Psycho Man, and she took that out with this alternate persona that felt like, I have all this anger that's kind of pent up and all these feelings that I'm not able to express because I have to hold it together all the time. And that is at least a little bit related to this miscarriage. Even Johnny says in this book, after he finds out that it's Sue, he's even like, she wasn't even this mad about the miscarriage. She has never been this mad at us. Like, it's a little strange. But then we have an Infinity Gauntlet story, big fight, Adam Warlock, 2 Thanoses, Magus, the evil Adam Warlock guy, Drax the Destroyer, big space fight between all the good guys and a bunch of the bad guys, and some of the bad guys are also good guys. It's complicated. All you need to know for this is every member of the good guy team has to fight their doppelganger. So it's like a version of Wolverine who's more feral or something like that, has to fight regular current Wolverine. Sometimes it is just like kind of a palette swap of a character, but a lot of the time it's like, oh, this alternate evil version of me from, the time I went evil, we had to fight him. Sue has this with Malice. Malice is her evil doppelganger, but Sue is like, I could fight my evil doppelganger, but if I absorbed Malice into me, that'd be like 2 Sue Storms. So I'd be twice as powerful, and that would be helpful for fighting, Galactus or whoever shows up next. So she does that. And even if she's doing that, Malice is like, you can't do this. Like, I'm going to win. I'm stronger than you. And Sue's like, no, you're not. I'm stronger. Right after they merge, I forget what she says, but Sue says something and you're like, oh, this is Malice. We're in trouble. And for like 20 issues, this is maybe like Fantastic Four, I don't know, late 300s maybe. I can't remember. I'll put this is the book. This is the book where this starts. But for like forever, Sue is just incredibly mean. There's a full like volume, at least I would assume, of issues where Sue is doing something. And these like regular Fantastic Four stories where it's like, oh, the Submariner's here, we gotta fight him, or I don't know, oh, it's the Mole Man, we gotta fight the Mole Man. And while she's doing that, Sue is also like, Johnny Storm, you messed this up because you're the worst and I can't stand working with you. And Reed will be like, whoa, Sue, I don't know what's going on with you. And she'll be like, what's going on with me is I hate you too, Reed Richards. You're the worst. And every character in these books, usually these scenes end with them going like, that was mean. Sometimes a character will say, Sue's been acting a little weird. But it's not something that like they figure out. It's funny too, because speaking of alternate Sue costumes, one of the costumes that people always bring up that's like another really weird, risque Sue Storm costume is the costume that she makes up during this like run, where it's like the, one-piece bathing suit with the 4 cut out in the chest area. And everybody sees this and it's like, that's something, that's a choice. And she's like, yeah, it is a choice. And I hate you. And you stink. And then they're like, all right, I guess it says I stink. And for a while, like that was just standard Sue Storm. It's kind of funny how much of Sue Storm in this book, like if you did not read the books before it, you would just be like, I don't know what happened, but Sue hates all of them now. And even when like Sue and Reed aren't in the room, other characters are like, I'm pretty sure they're going to get a divorce or something. I don't know what's going on. But like Reed's crying in the corner over there and it's not good. The Malice persona eventually kind of leeches itself onto her son from the future, an alternate reality version of Franklin Richards. It doesn't matter. And then when they're fighting an alternate version of Mr. Fantastic, who is bad guy, but this is not the same one as the Maker. They call this the Dark Raider. This guy shows up and he is a Reed who has no Sue, and they just use their combined, psychic will and whatever to just force Malice onto him, and he becomes even more evil. And then a couple books later, he gets thrown into the sun or something. So that is where Malice ends. Sometimes you see like a flashback to Malice, but it does not come up in comics very often. And one other interesting thing about Malice, after the first Malice arc, this is when Sue Storm, and she says this in the book, she's like, I am no longer Invisible Girl. I am the Invisible Woman now. This is this is closing the one door and opening another door. So it is like an important moment for Sue. But so that's his costume, and they adapted it into Marvel Rivals. And I do think this is something that people that like read comics, it's a mature bunch of themes and a mature bunch of ideas, right? These are books like this medium is expected to be primarily for children, but like not all comic books are for all audiences. Like they don't write stories about like characters getting addicted to drugs and stuff, and like some of the more adult themes that show up in all comics, they don't write that to be for a 7-year-old. I'm not saying that means that this comic is like, it's very graphic, but I guess like you never know what you're getting with different artists and different characters. And sometimes you'll find a great story, for instance, like Inferno, which I love. And I think is one of the great, like older X-Men events, where, Madeline Pryor and Havoc, to be fair, both of them are wearing insane outfits the whole time. Now, some of this like exploitative and over the top, for sure. It is very much supposed to be like both ways, kind of eye-catching in the way that it would just like be, attractive to readers, but also I think supposed to get a reaction from someone. I think you're supposed to be in that seat with Mr. Fantastic when he sees the Malice costume for the first time. But like not every, skimpy superhero costume is supposed to evoke all that emotion and mean so much with the character. Like sometimes the, women in the Hellfire Club just dress like Victoria's Secret models, and that's just what they do. I don't think that's as much of a problem in modern comics as it used to be. It's very funny. Like I think every comics fan can think of one outfit that a character has worn, male or female, mostly female, but there's some male outfits that could be quite provocative. Wolverine in his original Weapon X costume, that could be something. they ever threw that into the game. You know, there's some very sexy male and female versions of Loki. God, Wanda in the 90s had some pretty crazy costumes. Miss Marvel, you know, got the figure there with the Warbird outfit, which is a classic, like, crazy. I mean, like Titania over my shoulder. Yeah. It's not really, you know, showing scroll, but actually Hulk here. They put out a Titania recently from the Secret Wars line, and it's the first Titania figure they did. And because I love She-Hulk, I was like, well, I gotta get Titania because she's kind of our arch nemesis. Also dressed super weird. So I think it's funny that this world of Marvel Comics and these crazy costumes from 80 years of history, some of them are so old and have come up so few times, but are so memorable because it's that classic, like, oh, the, you know, sunny and responsible mom goes bad for like 2 issues. Those get a lot of attention by fans. You know what's kind of like this is the Rogue in the Savage Land outfit. I see that come up so often. They are making, I believe, a Rogue in the Savage Land series soon. And that is not a very substantial outfit for Rogue. Like, it is not that, you know, she wore that forever, or that was the most important arc of Rogues. Like, there's so many more important looks for Rogue. But, and I think if they ever put her in Marvel Rivals, I guarantee that would show up pretty quickly. Because fans that are into women love Rogue and love that costume. It gets this reputation among fans that makes it feel important, even though it really isn't. Like I said, all I'm saying about the Malice outfit, because I think it's fine. I think it's funny. Honestly, the problem with it is, like, I wouldn't not buy it just because even if I really thought it was great, which I don't really have strong feelings about it, I would still be like, I don't want people to think I'm like a creep. So I don't want to have to, you know, explain this to everybody who sees me playing this game on a stream or over my shoulder or something. It's the same reason I think the Psylocke outfit that they introduced in the game, that is closer to like the traditional canon Psylocke outfit, I think that skin's great. That skin also looks like one of those skins that's like, all right, what are you doing, buddy? But like, I don't know. I think that's a pretty cool skin. Probably not going to buy it for that reason. You know, I would say, like, for Marvel Rivals, if you guys are listening, I think you're doing a great job with this game. And I really think a lot of these outfits, maybe about half of them, do cater to really specific comic, you know, moments or, you know, series. The Magneto in his, like, I can't remember what it is, Emperor Magneto outfit is great. I really appreciate that, and I'm excited for more of them. Like, everybody has characters, like I said, like Magic. Well, I'm like, oh, when she gets a, you know, if they give her the Magic outfit she's got now, the gold, like, From the Ashes outfit, that'd be very cool. But like in comics, like, everybody's got their favorite characters, and everybody's got their favorite eras for that character, and those are represented by costumes. Like Magneto, for example. And I don't even really have super strong feelings about the era of the comics that this costume is from, but the new X-Men 97 version of the, you know, big giant M purple sleeveless costume, I think it looks great. If they put that in the game, I would definitely buy it, because it's like reminds me of X-Men 97, something that I really like. So that's the other thing, is like a lot of these costumes and what people like about them is attached to specific runs and moments for these characters that, you know, it's so complicated. You know, with Overwatch, like I said, if you tried to do this with Mercy, it would seem super weird. And with Marvel Rivals, it seems weird, but also there's context. There's always some weird story about them, and that's what makes it so fun, is learning about the context. That's what I enjoy so much about making my Marvel Snap videos and teaching everybody, like, this is what is cool about, you know, Iron Patriot and why this character was so much fun when Norman Osborn was in charge of the world and making every mistake he possibly could. Like, those comics are great. Malice, not my favorite comic. I'm not a humongous Fantastic Four fan, but I hope there's some people that'll see some of these skins and go, oh my gosh, a Gladiator, a Hulk, when was he a Gladiator? And they'll read Planet Hulk and they'll love it. So that would be ideal. Speaking of ideal, I want to talk about this video sponsor, Nebula. You know Nebula, it is a subscription streaming service that I and a bunch of YouTubers helped to create. It focuses on giving the creators more power to make the cool stuff that you guys already like and giving you guys a better experience for watching it. That means all my videos go up ad-free. Some of them are early. The Nando V Movies videos are early. The Nando Cut videos are like a little early, but they're not as early because they're like a thing that happened yesterday usually. We curate different video lists based on what people are talking about. So if you're watching that new Dune show, for example, and you want to watch some videos about Dune, we've got a bunch of those. We make that really easy to find. You can just watch that. We also have Nebula Originals. So these are all kinds of things. We've got like a pro shoot of a play by Abigail Thorne. Patrick Willems has made a Christmas special. His full-length feature film about an evil coconut. He's got a new short film coming out with a cast full of actors like Zach Cherry, who fans of this channel, I mean, you know him from so many things. Perhaps he has been in Severance, you love Severance, Fallout, but I mean, realistically, a good portion of you know him as the guy who tells Spider-Man to do a flip, or the guy who is taping the Shang-Chi fight. But either way, he is in this, and that is something you can only watch on Nebula. Tom Nichols just made a documentary about gerontocracy, about how boomers have changed the world and government, and is it good, or is it even really a thing? A subject that has only gotten more relevant since this documentary came out. We have so many other cool things I think you guys are going to love. You'll find out about them soon. And I always say, a year of Nebula is a steal at $5 a month or $60 a year. But if you use the code TheNandoCut at checkout, you can get a year of Nebula for $36. It's a great deal. Check it out. Go to go.nebula.tv/TheNandoCut. Use the code TheNandoCut at checkout. I guarantee you'll find something cool you're going to like. But anyway, that's a way too long explanation for why she has this insane dominatrix outfit and why we're probably going to get a bunch of those, and everybody should just be like, there's probably some weird reason why the character looked like that, and part of it was probably that they just wanted them to be attractive to, you know, at the time, probably a lot of younger boys, but also there's probably some story arc, then maybe it's great, so maybe read that comic and then you'll love it. But I will probably stream Marvel Rivals eventually. I don't know what costumes I will be in. Maybe if I get lots of donations and stuff, I'll buy some fun ones. But I'm Nando V Movies on Twitch, and I'm Nando V Movies everywhere. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.